We're now going to talk more about this idea of a pane. You remember from the UML diagram that we saw earlier, pane was a parent class with a whole bunch of different types of panes that existed beneath it. In other words, it had many children. So the pane class can be used any place where you want absolute positioning of the children, that is the nodes that are put in the pane. The stack pane was the particular type of pane. It's a subclass of pane or a child class of pane that we actually looked at in the demo that we just saw. And it places its children or nodes in the center of the pane on top of each other. So when you add more and more things to a stack pane, as the name would imply, they stack up on top of each other. And that might be perfectly appropriate for certain kinds of applications. For example, maybe you want to create a circle and then you want to put a label inside of the circle. Then you want them physically stacked like on top of each other to get the appropriate effect. In some cases it wouldn't make sense. If you had a bunch of buttons, you're not going to stack them up on top of each other because they're going to cover one another, and that's probably not going to be desirable. So in some cases stack pane is quite a useful pane to use, and in other cases it might not be quite what you want. But we're going to look at a number of different panes before we finish. In the code we just looked at, we saw there was a get children method that we could use with the stack pane, and we can use it in general with any pane. And when we do so, what it gets returned, I described earlier as something like an array list. They use that description because it's not exactly an array list. In fact, what it really is something called javafx.collections.observable list. But in many ways it does act like a array list in the sense that you can add things to it and remove things and so on. So we then saw that we could use the add method in conjunction with an observable list to add elements to that list. When we instantiate an object of class pane or group, we have a noarg constructor that we can use, but there's also a constructor that will allow us to add one or to add more children to the pane. And we saw that, we're going to see that rather in an example at the bottom of the slide. So we can instantiate an object called pane of class stack pane. We can set it equal to new stack pane, and here's where the constructor is being used. And that constructor, although there is a noarg constructor that we could use, in which case we would get an empty stack pane, we can drop a button in it immediately if we want, by immediately including a single argument where we put that button, or in general whatever that node is, in as an argument for stack pane.